Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us on the Crime Scene channel. Kindly consider like, share, and subscribe to stay updated on our content. In today's video, we delve into the intriguing case.
Can I help you? What do you need? What do you need?
The 911 operator isn't treating the caller's situation seriously, suspecting it could be a prank. However, the woman on the other end is in distress, struggling to breathe and in grave danger. Even as the caller runs out of air, she somehow imparts crucial information to the operator, desperately wishing for them to believe her. When the police reach the address Teri provided, it's vacant, but a conspicuous blood stain and an empty handgun case prompt concern. Another call reports Teri and her two daughters missing, with the new husband characterizing David Larsen, the suspect, as a dangerous and cold-blooded monster. The believed occupants of the vehicle are David, his wife Teri, and their two small children. Despite the severity of the situation, there remains a slight possibility they are still alive, and law enforcement is unwavering in their commitment to locate them safely. In 1996, Teri Jendusa celebrates her new marriage to David Larsen, seemingly enjoying a happy life. However, as their family expands with the birth of two daughters, Amanda and Holly, Teri discovers David's darker side and abusive and controlling nature. One day, a seemingly trivial incident triggers an extreme reaction, prompting Teri, holding their 2-month-old infant, to realize the imminent danger they face. Enduring abuse and shouldering blame, Teri decides to leave when David becomes a threat to their children. Driven by a determination to protect her daughters, she bravely chooses to break free from the abusive relationship. Teri, recognizing the need to end her marriage, finalizes her divorce on January 31, 2001. Despite the relief of escaping years of abuse, the court grants joint custody to David, forcing Teri to allow him access to their daughters, Amanda and Holly. Exiting the courtroom on the day of the divorce, David ominously warns Teri that she'll regret her decision. Her persistent fears intensify during visits, haunted by David's threats. Finding solace in Nicolai, they marry in 2003, forming a happy family. Yet, David remains a threat, resentful of Teri's newfound happiness. He warns her of regret for marrying Nick, claiming an ongoing spiritual connection. On January 31, 2004, the anniversary of their divorce, Teri faces an unforeseen nightmare. Picking up her daughters alone from David's, Teri, excited to share news of her pregnancy, is met with an eerie calmness. Suddenly, everything goes dark as she finds herself on the living room floor, attacked by David. Paralyzed and suffocated with duct tape, Teri fights for her life, driven by an instinct to protect her daughters. He instructed, "Turn your head away, turn your head to the side." Despite her compliance, she resisted, frustrating him as he struggled to maintain control. She fought relentlessly, losing blood and unable to escape. To her horror, David threw her into a garbage can, surrounding her with snow and ice. Take secured the lid as he placed a can in his truck, covering it with a tarp. Uncertain of her fate, she pondered why he hadn't resorted to a quicker, more lethal method. Terrified of the consequences for her daughters, Teri realized a potential danger if he succeeded in harming her. Determined to find a way out, she discovered her phone in her jacket pocket, dialed 911, provided vital information about her ex-husband. Another call to her husband, Nick, followed, revealing the disappearance of their daughters. Nick, aware of the urgency, contacted the police, reporting Teri's disappearance and the missing children. As police headed to David's address, Teri, trapped in the truck, pushed her hand outside in a desperate plea for help. Despite her efforts, David noticed and halted the truck, warning her to stop resisting. As he threatened her, her phone rang, revealing her attempt to seek help. Stripped of her lifeline, she faced an uncertain future as they continued driving. Teri clung to hope upon hearing police sirens approaching. However, they passed each other, heading to David's house instead of the truck she was in. Feeling utterly helpless, Teri couldn't comprehend David's intentions. The squad cars arrived at the house, unaware that they had just driven past the woman trapped in a garbage can who had called 911. In that moment of fear and despair, Teri feared losing everything. Upon entering the house, investigators found it empty, prompting them to search for any clues. The walls were adorned with wedding photos of Teri and David, and they discovered an empty handgun case, raising concerns about David possessing a firearm. Their search intensified when they found women's sweatpants with duct tape around the ankles, stained with a red substance resembling blood. Realizing Teri might have only a few hours exposed to the elements, investigators were determined to find her and her children. The urgency escalated as more blood traces were discovered, signaling grave danger. Efforts to track David and Teri's cell phones led them to Milwaukee, but the signals vanished. Property records revealed David's ownership of 3 addresses in Milwaukee. Although Teri's car was located near one property, there were no signs of her or the children. Desperation set in as Nick, Teri's husband, feared David might harm them all, leaving a profound sense of helplessness. Trapped in David's truck, Teri contemplated her daughter's safety. The truck halted, and she heard her daughters outside, playing and laughing. Despite the temptation to call out to them, Teri remained silent, knowing they were too young to intervene, and fearing it would traumatize them. As David set the garbage can down and stacked items on top, Teri maintained her silence, hoping he would think she was dead to avoid further violence. In her frozen confinement, she felt a sense of impending doom. Alone, isolated, and determined to survive, Teri waited until she was sure David had taken the girls. Desperate for help, she yelled and struggled to escape, clawing and pushing to lift a lid, all while fearing for her daughter's safety. As Teri fought for her life, police intensified their search. An Amber Alert was issued, and they were stunned to discover David showing up to work in Wheeling, Illinois, driving the same green truck from the alert. Detectives played along during questioning, allowing David to weave a web of lies about Teri's disappearance. Armed with information, they confronted him, revealing discrepancies in his alibi and location. At 11:30 this morning, squads were already on site by 11:03, responding to Teri's 911. Nick reminds David of the lie he told about Teri never showing up, pointing out the discovery of Teri's bloodied clothing in David's home. As the pressure mounts, David becomes visibly nervous, fidgeting in his seat and rubbing his pants with dark stains. Detectives call him out on his lies, revealing that Teri's blood is on his jeans. David's facade starts to crumble, prompting a change in his story. He admits that Teri did show up at his house, claiming he was being a good father by assisting the children with their homework. Unbeknownst to him, Teri was in his home, allegedly wielding a hammer with her pants down around her ankles. David's narrative becomes increasingly implausible as he describes a surprise attack and claims self-defense, grabbing a baseball bat and duct tape. Detectives express skepticism, but David persists with his tale of a blurry self-defense encounter with the mother of his kids. Despite the detectives' disbelief, they keep David talking, hoping he will reveal more information. However, he remains uncooperative and refuses to provide any details that could assist in the search. Detectives describe him as a dangerous individual and a cold-blooded monster who cares only about himself. Meanwhile, Teri's situation worsens as she remains trapped in the snow-packed, duct-taped garbage can without heat. Her body temperature drops rapidly, and she experiences severe pain in her hands and freezing feet. Despite the desperate conditions, Teri fights to stay awake, determined by the adrenaline and the thoughts of her daughters to keep her going. As police intensify their efforts to locate them, pushing David for answers about his ex-wife and children, he finally cracks and admits to dropping the kids off with a babysitter. This leads to a breakthrough as police find the girls safe at an address David provided. However, despite this progress, David remains uninterested in helping save Teri. Police confiscate David's personal items, including his wallet with business cards. A particular card leads them to a storage unit in Wheeling, Illinois. When contacting the storage facility, they learn that David was there yesterday, giving them a potential lead on Teri's location. Rushing to the storage unit, police enter the dark and cold space, calling out to Teri. At first, there is no response, but they discover a duct-taped garbage can inside. The discovery of a two-tone baseball bat with dried blood chills them, raising concerns about Teri's condition. Meanwhile, Teri, drifting in and out of consciousness, fears David's return, but suddenly hears a voice that doesn't belong to him. The relief of knowing that help has arrived fills her, and the paramedics open the garbage can to make a shocking discovery. The discovery of Teri inside the garbage can left a profound impact on the first responders. They found her in a fetal position with a large gash on her head, her eyes swollen shut, and her face severely bruised. Despite the brutal attack, Teri miraculously clung to life, breathing and speaking. The responders were overwhelmed with a mix of happiness and concern for her well-being, considering the harsh conditions she endured. Teri was rushed to the hospital, where it was revealed that David had brutally beaten her with a baseball bat, and she had been trapped in the snow and ice for nearly 27 hours. Her body temperature had dropped below 84 degrees Fahrenheit. Despite the severity of her injuries, the news that her children were safe and David was in custody brought Teri immense relief. Unfortunately, amidst the positive developments, Teri faced a tragic loss. She had a miscarriage due to the ordeal. The loss of the baby, whom she was supposed to celebrate with her family, was devastating for her and her husband, Nick. Teri, who fought for her life, remained focused on the positive aspect. Despite the need for amputation of her toes due to frostbite, she considered herself fortunate to be alive and to have her two daughters unharmed. The doctors estimated that Teri had only about an hour left to live before her rescue. Following a lengthy recovery, Teri had to face David in court, reliving the trauma. Despite a plea deal that upset her, she continued her fight for justice. At the federal level, David Larsen was sentenced to life in prison, ensuring the safety of Teri and her family. In prison, David attempted to intimidate Teri, demanding visits with his daughters, and even trying to escape. Teri, however, refused to be controlled by him. asserting herself as a survivor rather than a victim. She worked to protect other survivors of domestic abuse, becoming a public face for the campaign to pass Marsy's law in Wisconsin, providing more protection for crime victims. Teri continued to share her story, educating young students about recognizing red flags in an abusive partner and advocating for victims' rights. She found joy in her family life, welcoming a baby boy with neck, and maintaining a close relationship with her daughters, who are now married. Teri's determination, resilience, and advocacy have made her a survivor fighting against all odds. Her love for her children played a crucial role in keeping her going and fighting through the traumatic experience. Despite staring death in the face, Teri emerged stronger, with a new perspective on life and a commitment to helping others facing domestic violence. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe for this channel to see more.